This is a live case studies interview that you're doing with the one and only Sarah Poynton Ryan. How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm good. How are you?
I am incredibly well. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Now, for people that don't know you, before we get started in this case study, talking about how you got your biggest event and how did that work for you, and we can break down all the process for everyone that want to follow that. Can you please tell us a bit more about what you do? Just a few bit of background. That would be awesome.
So I'm a property investor. That's the underlying industry that I sit in. I've been in the property space for 4.5 years now, and I love what I do. I built a business from £60,000 of debt in 2015, and I don't have that debt anymore. I have a portfolio that generates me great cash flow every single month. Now I'm a buy-to-let landlord myself. But the main part of my business, and kind of the bit of my business that really shifted my life, were two key strategies. One was building portfolios for other people, and the other was something called rent to rent, which is where we manage properties in quite a creative way to develop cash flow on properties that we don't buy effectively. So I'm a property investor, but now I also have the pleasure of being able to help other people learn to do what we do. And so I'm also a public speaker now, and I'm a coach and a trainer.
That's brilliant. And you're doing an incredible job. I mean, I think when we met, it was an event that we did together. Yeah. And you definitely stood out from all the other speakers. And so I was like, we had to connect, and we started doing some more together. The first question I want to ask you was, why did you decide to work with us, to work with me, to work with GTeX? What was that made you say, actually, yes, I want to work with you guys?
So it's really interesting you asked me that question, because I was asked that question by someone else yesterday, because I was recommending you to a friend of mine. And their exact question was, why did you choose him? What was it about him that was different to everybody else? And I mean, you know this because I've told you bits of this before, but about 1.5 years ago, I'd made the absolute decision, I'd written it down, I'd committed it to the world that I want to do a public speaking booking in front of an audience of 10,000 people. Mm-hmm. And that is my underlying kind of goal that I want to get to, ideally before 2025. That's what I've written down, that's what I'm aiming for. People think I'm mental, but I don't care. I'm very excited about this goal.
That's why we love you.
Yeah, well, this is it. And I knew that I was okay as a public speaker. I was okay at holding an audience. Mm-hmm. I was okay at approaching people to get bookings. I was okay at that stuff. And I knew, and I'd been looking for about 6 or 7 months for a mentor, because I adamantly think people should have a mentor in the thing that they want to learn to do. Mm-hmm. And I think when you pick a mentor, there should be a few things that you consider. One, it has to be somebody that's done what you want to do, or is ahead of where you want to be. They may not be over there and finished. They might be just slightly ahead of you, but whatever it is, they need to be ahead of where you are, so that you can kind of walk in their footsteps. Ultimately, I think that's really important. And I think you have to pick a mentor based on how they make you feel as a human being, and how you align in terms of ethics, work value, the types of attitudes you have to business and those sorts of things. So for me, for a long time, I'd been looking inside of my own industry, because there's lots of public speakers that speak about what I speak about. Most of them are men, because I'm in a very male-dominated environment.
True.
And if I'm really honest, the ones I was coming across were asking me to do things that ethically didn't sit right with me. Mm-hmm. Things like standing on a stage and crying about things that weren't true. I just could never get my head around why I needed to do that to convince a client to work with me. And so it just was so far removed from what I wanted to be as a speaker. I took ages and ages and ages to find a speaker that I thought ethically I could connect with. As a human being, I could just be mates with and work with. that I trusted that if I gave them money, I would get value from it, more value than what I was spending, and that they would have time for me, that I could talk to them. And so I spent a long time looking for a mentor. And when I met you, I saw you speak at that event. And again, you stood out to me as somebody, I was like, this guy's got something different. Obviously you're you. Now I know you. I know what you're like. And that's the thing. You're very authentically you, and you're authentically you all of the time. And I'm that, and I want to be that. I don't want to be something that I'm not on a stage. I never want to be trying to fake it to convince someone to work with me. I want to inspire people to choose to work with me because they like who I am and what I stand for. And that's where I chose you, is because I felt like I connected with you, the ethos of GTeX, and the fact that you were never ever going to ask me to stand on a stage and lie to people.
Absolutely. No, I mean, first of all, lots of love. Love you.
I love you back a lot.
A lot of love here. But that's also what I respect about you as a speaker, where there are a lot of speakers that will compromise on their ethics to make the extra sale, or to get an extra opportunity, or to lie about what they do and what they don't do. Then what resonated with was, there is no need for that. We can just be who we are, with our faults, with our fears, with the things that are going well, with the things that are not going well, but still be there and show up to support our audiences and to support the people that we want to work with.
I just think I give my clients more, I just think they're more intelligent than that. I think the people that I work with are not idiots, and I just don't think I need to treat them like idiots to get them to spend money. Ultimately, my thoughts on this are, I won't be the right coach and trainer for everybody, and that's fine. There's enough clients that I absolutely can work with and get the best out of for me to have a great business, empower the people that I will want to work with, that I don't need to lie about it. And that was my biggest challenge, was I couldn't find anybody who would mentor me in a way that I felt comfortable with. And then I found you.
And here we are. And here we are. And I mean, that was about, I think, more than a year ago from the moment that we are recording. No, almost a year ago.
Well, to be fair, it's probably about 18 months ago, because it took me about 6 months to actually decide to work with you, because
and I've been chasing you for about 6 months, sending you text every couple of weeks.
Yeah. But the reason for that is because I don't part with money very, very easily. I especially don't part with the amount of money that I've spent on my education easily. And I really had to make sure that it was the right move. And so for me, there was a couple of things. I guess I wasn't testing, that's probably the wrong words, but one, I wanted to make sure that you were as keen to work with me as I was to work with you, which if anybody knows Simone, he doesn't let up until he's got the client name. Like, amazing. Like, I could learn a lot from that. It was brilliant. But also, you never once tried to sell me. I know you did sell me, but you never once like forcibly tried to close me, and scarcity tactics and all the NLP shit that goes with all of that. You just said to me, this is what I can give you. This is what it costs. I negotiated, because I can't not. We agreed where we settled, and then I made it work, because I just felt it was the right move.
Well, I mean, now as when we are here, and you had there is a lot of the things that we did together, and I mean, I can take only, I think, probably like 20% of the credit or 30% of the credit. All the rest is down to you, because you're the kind of person that, you know, you go out and you make things happen no matter what. So one of the things that happened was that you got the biggest gig, and you know, sometimes you can find a situation. That was the case study I want to really break down in this interview, on how was that process for you. What did you learn from this process? What were some of the things that you put in place in order to make the most of this opportunity, and so on. So if we can start from what that opportunity was, and then we can use that as a starting point.
Okay, so I basically said, when Simone first came to my office in Milton Keynes, and he was running through like the business canvas, like, what do I actually want? What do I where do I want to go? Because those people that know me or have heard me speak before will know that I've always got a million different ideas. There's always a lot going on in my world. I kind of like it that way. But I haven't always had the right team to support me in that. I've definitely struggled with that as an aspect of running the business. And so when I sat down with you, I said I wanted to do loads of different things. But really, when you drilled me on it, what I really wanted was to be a better speaker and to be in front of bigger audiences, because I've got this goal of speaking to 10,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. So you definitely tested me out as a speaker, because he sent a spy to one of my events, first of all, which I think is hilarious.
I gotta give credit where it's due. It was not my idea. It was Sephora's idea.
Sephora sent a spy to my event, right? So I run events in Milton Keynes, and I did. I'm not at the moment, but I did. And the first event that I ran, when I was actually working with Simone, there was a guy in the front row who I'd had a chat with, but did not have a clue who he was. Turned out to be Sephora's brother, I think, or stepbrother, or brother-in-law, or something like that. Anyway,
Sephora's brother.
Yeah, he approached me at the end, and he went, basically, I've been spying on you all day to see if you're any good as a speaker, and how you hold an audience, and how you deliver, and whether your ethics are there, and things like that. And I thought that was brilliant, because if Simone had been in the room, one, I'd have probably been super nervous, and I wouldn't have just been me, because at the time, I didn't really know you that well then.
Yeah.
But two, it just meant that he got the real version of me, which meant you got to see what I was all about. So I thought that was brilliant. Anyway, from that, I then was booked to speak at your event. And then I've had a few introductions to other things. And I've always chased you and said, look, I want bigger, I want to go bigger, I want to go bigger, I want to go bigger. And then I had a message from you on Facebook saying that there was, I can say the name of the event, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there was a guy called Ed who was running an event, and you'd put my name forwards. I needed to message him. That was, you basically introduced us on Facebook Messenger. Yeah. So I messaged the guy back, and we had a bit of a conversation, but nothing really happened for a minute. And then, I don't know, it must have been about 8 weeks later, maybe not, maybe 12 weeks later, I don't know, a while later, yeah. I got a message from him saying, from Simone saying, you can expect a call today. I was like, from who? He's like, oh, Ed. I was like, I couldn't really even remember who this Ed guy was. And then I had like 2 weeks notice, and I was speaking at ChampionCon at Earl's Court to an audience of like 600 and something people. So I'd gone from like speaking to an audience of like 250 was my biggest audience at that point, to 650, like, and I had 2 weeks to prepare.
How did you feel about that? Like, were you nervous? Were you just excited?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, on the day when I was standing backstage and Levi Roots was on before me, and I was absolutely
like, follow that.
I followed Levi Roots. I mean, mental, absolutely mental. And I remember standing backstage, and my friend, like my best friend, one of my best friends was in the audience, and I texted her and I said, I need you to come and like speak to me. And she came out the audience, and she came to backstage, and she had a little chat with me, and she was like, so there's kind of a mantra that we have, and that my nan uses when she talks about, which is, she believes she could, so she did. Right. In my life, I believe I can do anything if I really want to do it, and so I do. So she came and reminded me of that and settled my nerves. But other than that little wobble before I went on stage, I wasn't nervous. I was just very excited. Very excited.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I remember the excitement that you had. I remember even that gig. I was, I think for every gig, that is important to have nerves. Otherwise, it means that, I don't think if you care, nerves are there.
Yeah, I mean,
because it means that you care and you want to perform for the organizer, for the audience, for yourself.
I think it's a respect thing. Like, first of all, I was so incredibly grateful to be even in that room with those people. Like, I met Levi Roots before I went on stage. I got to share a stage with you, with Ed, you know, but more importantly, I'd been trusted to effectively close out pretty much an event that had been running for 2 days with a room full of 650 people that had paid money to be in that room. And out of respect for them, I absolutely knew that I could not fuck it up. Sorry to swear. I'm not
sure. I'm not.
like, I had to deliver. I had to bring my absolute A game and some. And so the nerves were a healthy nervousness, I think. So excited, but just respectful of the people that are in that room and were expecting value from me. And
let's look at your preparation. Like, how did you prepare for it? Did you have to change a lot from what you were currently doing? Was it something what were the biggest things that you had to prepare for?
So I did a 90-minute talk. Yeah. Generally speaking, I either do a whole day or an hour. Mm-hmm. They are my two kind of sets, or I do 3 days at my 3-day event. Yeah. So we effectively had to take a whole day's training and chunk it into 90 minutes worth of content. Now, I was doing a sell from the stage slot. So I didn't pay to be there, but I was splitting fees effectively for in return for putting me on the stage. So the preparation, the key bits of preparation really were really deciding who was going to be in that room. Yeah. It wasn't a property event. So it was an investing event. It was about digital and physical assets and how you can make assets generate cash for you forever. So I was kind of at the back end of that. Once you've made money from business, how do you invest money? And that's kind of where I slotted in. So I had to make what is normally a very property specific talk relevant to non-property people. And that was definitely an evolution of my talk. Yeah. I certainly had to prep more on things like keeping to time than I'd ever really done before, just out of respect for the other speakers and the event organizers and things like that. You can't run over, it's just not acceptable. No. I think obviously the sale at the end was different to what it had normally been because of what we were selling and who we were selling to in terms of being able to actually help those people properly. Yeah. And from an operational perspective, like back office, we had to do some work to be ready for the level of sales that could come from a room of 650 people to deliver the service that we inevitably want to deliver.
So let's start from the first part, which is selecting the presentation and identifying which part from a larger presentation to put in 90 minutes. Because I remember, I heard this quote before. I don't remember who said it, but it was someone that was really famous public speaker or president or someone. It says, if give me a speech of an hour and I need 10 minutes to prepare, give me a 5-minute speech and I need a week to prepare. Which I think, like, putting in context is easier when you have more time because you can expand. But when you have to be succinct in a certain time and also make it from someone that doesn't know you to have someone that immediately buys from you, in 90 minutes, there is a process to that. So how did you identify the content to keep and what to eliminate?
So, I mean, with your help, first of all, I went and I had a meeting with you and we went through my talks, and what we did was we looked at the most successful presentations I'd done up to that point, one in terms of audience engagement and the other in terms of actual physical sales off the back. And we kind of narrowed down why my audience would buy from me. Like what is it about me that I can give to them and what's important to them? And then what we were able to do is basically just work through those presentations and just nick all the best bits and kind of create this hybrid presentation. It was really more about keeping it as simple as we could, because when you go techie in a 90-minute presentation, you lose people. So keeping it as simple as we could keep it without not giving anything. So for me, I teach how. I know not everybody teaches how. A lot of people teach what and then they sell how. But I like to teach how in some places, because otherwise people just get stuck. And I don't want people to come away from seeing me speak and go, well, she told me about a theory, but she didn't really give me any value at all. That's just not what I want. So we took all the real techie stuff out, and we left with a really lovely blend of understanding the opportunity that's there, what they can do and how I did it, i.e., you know, it was part-time, it was around other businesses, it was there, I explained all of that. And then I gave them some key takeaway things they could implement if they wanted to themselves. So they got value and they could go and do stuff themselves. But then I invited them to come and work with me to take it faster and further if they wanted to. And that's kind of how we structured it.
Now, thinking about the offer that you were making, did you had to change much from offers that you were making before? Did you had to change, was it something that you had before and you repurposed for the event? How did you come up with that?
So I have a training company that has like a suite of products. What I didn't want to do was create extra brand new products that one would have took a big work in terms of operational delivery to completely change the structure just because it was a new audience. What I needed to do was to make sure that what they were buying was relevant to them, but was a product that we already had. So I have like a one-day event, it's 2 days now, a 2-day training event. And we have like a partnership program where we help people build portfolios. So it was the 2-day training that I wanted to sell. And so we kept the product pretty much the same. We're going to be doing it online now rather than like in a room, but that's not really relevant to this. So we left the product the same, but we really thought about how that product fitted with the audience that we had. And we added some stuff into that product that blended in nicer with that audience. So actually we created a better product because we had a new set of audience coming in.
Yeah, it's really important. In fact, if you had to give if someone, for example, is in a similar situation where you were, where you had to basically adapt a product to a new audience that you didn't sell before, but still there was a link. What piece of advice can you give them to identify what parts to keep and what parts to add, or what parts to take off?
I mean, the easiest thing is to ask your clients what bits were the best bits and the bits that were most relevant. But short of that, if you don't have any clients, let's say it was your first ever event and you were trying to adapt to an audience, I think my advice would be to break it down into sort of absolutely non-negotiable has to be there or it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Then the layer that is, we could maybe record some videos to explain this, and actually this is just some fluffy stuff to fill some time. I think if you split those things into categories, if you're trying to work either into an audience or into a time limit, you can get rid of the fluffy shit that you don't need and concentrate on the non-negotiable has to be there, otherwise it makes no sense and there's no context. And the bits that you can then read. So we took out some content and created video demos and sent them out as video, like homework before the event, so that we could add in some extra content on the actual course.
Oh, that's really good. So basically what you did, you added some extra material to basically bridge the gap and put them up to speed to make use of the core program that you already had. Yeah. Very smart.
And the thing about that's great is we created digital assets that we can actually now sell as well. So we sell them as a separate product. So actually in the creation of trying to serve for our client in the best possible way, where we hadn't have ever thought of that before, we created another saleable product that gives us a different revenue stream.
And this is for everyone who's watching or listening. If you're thinking about everything you create, think about how can I repurpose this? How can I use this in another way? How can I resell it, or how can I add it as a bonus for other programs I'm doing? Don't see this as oh my God, I need to do this additional work, but this is assets that you are actually creating for your company. You are creating for your
absolutely. I've got a couple of people that say to me, why do you change your presentation every time you do it? I'm like, because it gets better every time I do it. There will never be a finished presentation. There will always be something I've learned from the time before, or an improvement I could make, or a change to the industry, or something that I can tweak to just make it better. I think you always need to be thinking about how you can serve and solve for your clients in the best way.
And that's a that's what makes you an incredible speaker, because you really think about the audience and you think about changing things. It's not just a standard presentation, I'm going and leaving.
It's not about me. I'm irrelevant in the process. I just happen to be the voice that enjoys delivering the content. What matters is what people learn and what they take away from it, either how they feel when they walk out of that room, if they're motivated and inspired to want to do something different, or if they just feel educated in that they've learned something they didn't know before. It's not about me, it's about them.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, two more questions before we wrap up. One is about the sales process. You were used before to sell on a longer day event, so either 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. How did you find the presentation? In the presentation that you created, what parts can you identify that can get someone from not knowing you and not needing a full day now to actually buy from you at the end? So what crucial part of your presentation they were there that made it possible?
So I think there's a couple of things with this, in just thinking about me personally as a speaker. One, I think it's my background and how the journey I went on from like 2015 to 2017,
mm-hmm.
And what that looked like. I'm as honest as I can comfortably be about that. You know, it's still now when I talk about how uncomfortable things were for me financially, it makes me it makes me cry. So there's things that I don't say on stage because I physically wouldn't be able to speak. So I'm as honest as I can be about the background that I have been through and the journey that I've been through. And I think that either relates to people or it doesn't. If you've never been through having debt and being literally scared of like the postman coming because you don't know how to pay your bills, if you've never been through that, you'll never relate to that. And then you maybe wouldn't buy from me. But I know there's loads of people that can relate to that and are actively trying to get out of that right now. So I share that because I think it's important for people to recognize that they're not on their own, and that even though they're going through that right now today, that if they want to be a speaker and be speaking in front of 650 people at some point, that you can go from feeling as emotionally and financially broken as I was to being where I was. So the journey, I think, and the background is important. And I think the simplicity of it, like when I take a whole day to sell, we teach, we really do we dig deeper. Whereas when you've only got 90 minutes to sell, you just have to make it as simple as you possibly can. And just be you, like be authentically you all the time. You know, when I did ChampionCon, like a friend of mine said to me, you know, it's a really big event. Do you not think you should like put on a shirt and trousers and like put on some heels? And I was like, absolutely not. I'm going in my trainers. I'm wearing my t-shirt. I'm wearing my jeans. I'm going and being me, because if you put me on a stage in front of all those people and I was anything but me, I'd have broken it. It would have been rubbish. But I was there, I was in jeans, I was in trainers,
and that's what people can expect from you from the get-go when we are
Absolutely.
talking about authenticity and showing up. And it's not about, some people can get caught up in the particularly professional speaking industry and say, no, you always need to dress the part. But at the same time, it's about what is your brand? What is your brand? Is your brand about like are you the polished?
Yeah.
Or are you the person that is in trainers and is in a t-shirt and that's how you like to be?
So I think some people are at their most comfortable when they're in a three-piece, and so they should wear one. Some people are at their most some people are at their most comfortable when they've got a beautiful dress on and their hair's done, the makeup's done, and they've got Louboutins on their feet, and that's for them. For me, I like my GTeX trainers, I like my black jeans, and I like a t-shirt, and it's what I wear all day, every day. And so for me, I think I have to give the authentic version of me always. And so why dress up and be something that I'm not when, I mean, my trainers they're good trainers.
They're good trainers.
They're good trainers.
I know. So for those of you that don't know, Sarah is a bit of a fetish for white trainers.
I do.
So
Well, all trainers.
how many white trainers do you have? Pairs of white trainers?
I've probably got, in this house, I think I've got about 40 pairs of trainers. Something like that. Some of them are my husband's, but we're about the same size, so we kind of share. I've got 2 pairs that are for public speaking. So when I'm on a stage, you'll see me in one of 2 pairs of trainers, which were trainers I bought for myself as rewards for achieving goals in the company.
Yeah. Which one is your favorite one? The top one?
I've got a pair of Jimmy Choo trainers that I speak in that are like my fave.
So we're not talking about they are trainers. They're good trainers. They're good stuff. Okay. Last question I have is about the backend and operations. So what was your kind of preparation to make the most of that opportunity? Because as you say, it's almost like you need to be, when you're in this kind of situation, you never know how it's going to go. Of course, there is nothing you can absolutely predict. But it's almost you got to be prepared for something great to happen, and you got to be prepared of nothing happening. So what was your preparation on the back end to make sure that you got the most out of this opportunity?
So my conversion rates, speaking from the stage, are very high. And I mean, I'm very grateful for that. That's not a boasty thing. It's just something I'm very excited about. My conversion rates are good. And so I knew that if I was going to get that opportunity, if I prepared for it well, there should be no reason why I didn't convert well out of that room. And up until that point, I'd never spoken to an audience of that level. And so our operation had never handled an influx of clients at that level. So first of all, the things that I did normally when I go and speak, I just go on my own. I took a team of 4 of us with me. To handle, and on top of that, we had a videographer, we had a photographer as well. So there was like 7 people there effectively for me. I know we shared the videographer, but we, I took a team of people to make sure that we could absolutely maximize everything that we were getting out of that room. And then the follow-up, like the communication with the clients, all of those sorts of things had to be nailed, because obviously I'm selling from a stage. The event organizer is expecting me to make them money as much as I'm expecting to make money for myself. So after we've done the sales in the room and I've come off stage, I mean, there was probably about 100 people that I spoke to after the actual talk, photos and all those sorts of things. I couldn't physically speak to everybody. So having a team of people there that could do that was really helpful. And then in terms of like my team afterwards, follow-ups, we just made sure that the calls happened. It was all added to the CRM correctly. Admin is not my skill set. Like, it really isn't. And, Simone knows this anyway, but I've not had the best experience with a team over the last 12 months. I've had some challenges, let's say. So, I mean, my team now are absolutely like on point.
I love them.
They're so good.
They're good.
They work so hard, and they absolutely have business, and it's like their best intentions completely is brilliant. And so those guys were quite new at that point, so they were being led by me, but actually they were just doing their job, which was to follow up, make sure things were getting done, raise invoices, send out client packs, all that sort of stuff, and doing what I said I was going to do in terms of communicating afterwards. I spoke to everybody, I added everybody to the Facebook page. We did which we've never done this before, but everybody that bought on that day, we did like a welcome to Cogito call, which was actually inspired by you, which was just an opportunity, because in that room of all those people, I hadn't personally connected necessarily with each of them in terms of knowing who they were and things like that. So I did that Zoom call with all of them so that actually they could see that I wasn't just a face on a stage, that they would have access to me, they could get hold of me, and that I was the same like this as I was on that stage, so that I could reassure them that their investment in me and their trust in me was well put.
Yeah, and you mentioned something which is really important, which is that group call after, because when, particularly in the multi-speaker event dynamic, people might have bought multiple products, multiple services. There might be that feeling of, did I did I buy the right thing? Did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
And so the sooner you do this, or like an onboarding call or a welcome call to reaffirm, and this is what you bought, this is what's included, this is what's going to help you out, and give someone the peace of mind of, yes, I made the right investment. I'm in the right place.
And it's not something I'd ever done before. It's something I definitely should have done before, but it had never occurred to me to do, because you don't know what you don't know, right? This is why I pay for a mentor. This is why I have a mentor, because there's things you do and I think, that there is a brilliant idea. Why aren't I doing that? That's what I'll do. And then I do it and it works. Yeah. And it could have took me forever to get to that. But actually now, when we do an event, we do a follow-up call with everybody. Whatever we're selling off the back end, we make sure that if it's a reasonable ticket price plus, kind of, you know, like 250 plus, if they're spending actual proper money with us, that we treat it as such, you know, we invest the time, you know. If someone's going to spend £2,000 with me, then they deserve my time and my attention. And so, yeah, those sorts of things are really lovely touches that I never thought of before.
Right. So now to wrap up, what are some of the things that you're working on at the moment? Like, what can people that are following that have been watching or listening, they can expect to see from you in the next few days or a few months?
Okay, so there's some cool stuff coming. I'm very excited. So because of coronavirus, it has forced me to think differently about running my business. And what that has allowed me to do, it's also given me a load of time. I've been like hanging around in my house more so than usual. So we've got on the 27th of April, we have our first ever 5-day raise investor leads from social media challenge happening. It's free. So if you want to join that and work out how to get investor leads for your business, for property or for any sort of business really, let me know or let Simone know or comment and I can get the link to you. Come and join us. It's going to be good fun. Basically 5 tasks over 5 days, and I'm going to be online with you for 5 whole days. I'm going to be doing training sessions every night for 5 days, all free. So that's going to be really good fun.
I'll put the link in the show notes so then you guys can register for that.
Perfect. Our 2-day event that we used to do, we've evolved the content and we are turning it into a digital version. So it's like a home study course now instead of an event-based study course, which I think is better for our clients. It's not necessarily better for us because actually being in a room is a bit more fun, but a lot of my clients need to study at home around children, around childcare. They don't want to pay for hotels and trains and all the other things that go with that. So a home study course allows us to also deliver it at a slightly lower price than an event because we don't have overheads, we don't have venues, we don't have food, we don't have staff, etc., etc. So it means that actually we're able to serve people even better, again, which is exciting. And we're launching our partnership program as well as of the 1st of June. So people that do want to build property businesses, instead of just teaching people how to do it, we're going into business with people to do it with them. We're putting skin in the game in the same way that they are. It will be less people, but more success, I suspect. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow. So we're going to put all the links here in the show notes. If you want to get into properties or you want to invest in properties, make sure you contact Sarah. She's absolutely awesome and is someone that you can trust. I've been knowing her
love
for
to hear
a while
from
now.
Anybody. And also, you know, like I'm happy to just kind of chat it through if anybody wants to really just find out whether even this sort of industry is for them. Because I spoke to a client today and they said, but I need loads of money to get started in property. You don't. You really don't. You know, Facebook, Instagram's a good place to start with me. And yeah, I'd love to chat to anybody.
What I want to leave this interview with is with a final piece where I will ask you to complete a sentence. And the sentence is, because of GTeX, I... So if
you want me to finish that sentence?
Yeah, finish the sentence. Because of GTeX.
Okay. So because of GTeX, I felt empowered and confident enough in my own ability, my capabilities as a speaker and to serve my clients that I just went for it. Whereas historically, I might not have said yes to that opportunity because I felt it was bigger than where I was at the time. It really wasn't, and it was one of the best decisions ever. So because of GTeX, I got to have the biggest gig of my life. So
Woohoo!
far, so far.
So far, that's the first of many. That's the first of many. All right, Sarah, thank you very much for being part of this case studies interview. I'm sure that everyone has been watching and listening, found it incredibly valuable. And make sure you get in touch with Sarah. And if you want to work together and see how we can help your business, how we can help you get out there, then become an authority in your field, then book a call. I love to work together. Thank you very much. And until next time, remember that together we grow exponentially.
See you later.
Ciao.
Bye.